You ever watch someone destroy themselves in real time and just not even feel mad? That was me that night Karen broke into my garage for the very first time. I didn't even bother to run out there, honestly, just sat at the kitchen table with my coffee watching her on the security feed like some late-night sitcom rerun. There she was, bathrobe flapping, hair wound tight on top like she was royalty, clipboard in hand, jiggling my garage handle at 2 a.m. And let me tell you, if anybody else had done that, they'd have looked completely unhinged. But Karen, she looked self-important, like she was hosting Extreme Home Makeover Felony Edition live on prime time. What she didn't know, and what made me almost spit out my coffee laughing, was my alarm system didn't just shriek when tripped. It called the emergency contacts from the HOA phone tree. Thanks to paperwork Karen herself filed, Greg, her poor beleaguered husband, was still at the top. So when that siren let loose, Greg's phone lit up, and 90 seconds later I watched him sprint down the sidewalk in his slippers, face twisted in a panic. He caught her mid-burglary, my camera catching it all, Greg grabbing her elbow, Karen screeching like she'd been insulted by a commoner, the alarm wailing like it was egging them on. It was poetic, honestly. That was the moment it clicked for me moving back here. Wasn't just inheriting my dad's rundown ranch house, I'd inherited a full-blown war. See, I came home after 22 years in the Army, enough time in war zones to make you crave some peace. All I wanted was to fix up my dad's place, maybe get the old barn standing straight again and stay out of trouble. But peace, Karen couldn't stand it. From the minute I parked my truck on that cracked driveway, she was right there, clipboard, and smile tight enough to snap a tooth, reciting the rules like commandments. Grass 3 inches or less, mailboxes straight, garages spotless, dues due yesterday. I hadn't even set down my duffel before she told me she was the HOA vice president, the face of the neighborhood, bless her heart. I closed the door, made a mental note, never underestimate the enemy. The first few weeks were just annoying notices taped to my door, emails about unauthorized equipment in my driveway, my dad's tractor, mind you, Karen popping up anytime I coiled a hose the wrong way. Survive and advance, right? But the garage that was different, that was my sanctuary. Dad's tools, the battered footlocker from deployments, the only sense of order I had left. When Karen barged in, muttering about community inspections, something in me just snapped. That alarm screamed. Lights flashed. Greg did his now famous charge, and as I reset everything from my phone, silence dropped like a curtain. I sat staring at the frozen security feed, Karen mid-scream, Greg mid-drag, and my garage still locked. Most people would have been furious. Me, I'd learned patience is deadlier than rage. Karen wanted to play queen, so let her wear the crown tin cheap and bound to bend. The next morning, a bright yellow violation was taped to my door, Karen's jagged handwriting, improper garage security fixtures. My alarm, she claimed, threatened the neighborhood's tranquility. I about lost it laughing. She broke into my garage, set off my alarm, dragged Greg into her circus, and I'm the problem. I peeled off that notice, filed it in my Karen's greatest hits folder, first of many, and spotted Greg across the street, fake checking his oil. He glanced up, mouthed, sorry. He looked less like an accomplice and more like a man living in a blast radius, bracing for shrapnel. That evening, I worked in the garage with the door wide open. Let her see me, I wasn't hiding. Sun-setting shadows growing, I heard her heels before I saw her clipboard, now a sidearm, hands on hips. You violated code, she snapped, locking your garage, installing unauthorized alarms. I wiped my hands, leaned on the bench and said, funny, I thought breaking into someone's garage was unauthorized. She bristled. Don't be dramatic. I grinned. Trust me, you haven't seen dramatic. She stormed off, her invisible crown slipping. But here's the thing, this wasn't about alarms or bird feeders or even her obsession with mailbox angles. Karen needed power like oxygen, and anyone who didn't bow just suffocated her. She didn't realize she'd already set her own trap because alarms, once triggered, don't just make noise, they get attention. Every time my system tripped, Greg got summoned. 2 nights later, she was back flashlight clipboard, peering into my windows like a raccoon on a midnight prowl. Alarm wailing Greg, charging out Karen, hollering, "You're dividing families." I just shrugged. "Pretty sure you're managing that on your own." Greg's sigh could have registered on the Richter scale. The next morning, another notice: illegal bird feeder installation. My niece made that thing in shop class. Encourages unsightly wildlife. You mean robins? Okay, fine. I bought 2 more and hung them right out front. Karen doubled down, taking photos of my driveway, my hedges, the bird feeders. Greg lagged behind her, looking less like a husband, more like a hostage. That night he called, voice tired, beaten. "She says you're a threat. She's filing reports. I can't stop her." I said, "You could try." He laughed hollow. "She won't quit till she wins." I told him, then maybe she should pick battles she can actually win. Saturday morning, I woke to Karen hammering a sign onto the utility pole. "Security system alert, aggressive homeowner," with a grainy doorbell pic of my face. "You can't post that," I yelled. She hollered, "The community has a right to know who's endangering it." Greg appeared, yanked the ladder, ripped the sign down. For the first time, I realized Greg wasn't just embarrassed. He was afraid. Karen was unraveling, and everyone could see it. The next escalation, Karen brought back up. 3 spotless SUVs rolled up, a pack of HOA inspectors in embroidered polos fanned out with tape measures, notepads, cameras. One guy measured my grass. Another took 6 driveway photos. Karen handed me a stack of citations: garden hose placement, mailbox tilt, unauthorized alarm, 7 violations in one morning. I just smiled, slid them into my scrapbook. She wasn't used to targets who didn't beg for mercy. I dug into the bylaws. Buried deep was a clause: any homeowner could request a board hearing open to the community. So I did. Word spread fast. At the hearing, Karen banged her gavel like she was presiding over the Supreme Court. "This is about non-compliance with standards," she declared. I stood. "My alarm goes off when someone breaks into my garage." "That's not non-compliance, that's common sense." Neighbors chuckled. Karen flushed. I pulled out the bylaws. Page 73, subsection G. Homeowners may install private security if it doesn't interfere with shared infrastructure. Mine doesn't. Board reviewed it, unanimous. No violation. Karen's gavel cracked. Neighbors cheered, and for the first time, Karen didn't look powerful. She looked cornered. But she wasn't done. People like Karen double down. Next day, eggs on my truck. Security footage: Karen robe, wild hair, windmilling eggs like a toddler with a vendetta. Sprinklers mysteriously shut off. Karen caught on camera with garden shears. Still, I let it ride. Every petty move another knot in her noose. But then she escalated. Called the cops, claimed I was hiding stolen tools. Officers searched, found nothing. The lead cop glared at Karen. "Second false report this month, ma'am." She sputtered and I just waved. "Thanks for the pest inspection." But Karen wanted a win, no matter the cost. 2 nights later, my alarm blared. This time it wasn't her. It was 2 strangers, men in contractor uniforms, rifling through my stuff. Karen stood outside, whispering like a field commander. I hit the panic button. Sirens blared, cops arrived. The footage was clear. Karen directing a break-in. The board called an emergency meeting. Room packed, Karen raging. Feldman, the actual HOA president, played the video. Gasps, curses, even Mrs. Patterson with her famous heart murmured, "Unbelievable." The board voted Karen out and the police escorted her away. But Karen wasn't done. Next day, news vans. Karen on her long crocodile tears blaming Greg, blaming me, blaming everyone but herself. Neighbors spoke up stories about lemonade stands shut down, shed doors repainted, bullying for years. She doubled down, filing restraining orders, dragging me into court, even emailing the local news, a doctored screenshot of me in my own garage, timestamp, fake to make me look guilty. My lawyer laughed, obvious forgery, but the damage was done. Neighbors started whispering, flyers appeared calling me the real criminal. So I opened my garage to the whole street, let them see for themselves, nothing to hide, nothing secret, just a stubborn old vet who refused to bow. And then, as if on cue, Karen staged her own break-in tripod camcorder rehearsed lines trying to frame me. Cops arrived, watched her own footage, and finally put her in cuffs as the neighborhood watched. But victory wasn't sweet, it was sad. Greg, standing apart, looked relieved, not happy. Karen was convicted, probation, community service, banned from the HOA. Flyers stopped, notices disappeared. The sun felt warmer, the street felt lighter, the house felt like mine again. In the end, Karen destroyed herself trying to hold power nobody wanted to give her. You build your empire on fear, and the second folks stop being afraid, it all crumbles. She's just a cautionary tale now, whispered at block parties, a legend nobody misses. And as for me, well, I'm finally home. So here's my question. Was it justice or just the law finally catching up? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me if you've ever had your own Karen moment. I promise you're not alone.